Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jaya Guru Raya.
Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki jai. Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar Arpanastu. With our grateful pranams, we have submitted the Nama Sankirtan at the lotus feet of Bhagwan. Today is a very special day. According to the English calendar, today is the birthday of Swami Ramdas, Yogi Ramsuratkumar's Guru, from Ananda Ashram, Kanjangad, Kerala. This is 10/4/1884 was the day Swami Ramdas was born, and that was a very special, auspicious day. That was Hanumat Jayanti Day. Many years later, Shri Rao, that was his original name, would call himself Ramdas, true to the spirit of the day on which he was born. Like everyone else, Swami Ramdas, Rao, studied and tried his hand at various jobs, but nothing really worked for him. Why would it do so? His path was very different. He had to be taken away from the worldly life. So you see, at every level, every failure of the Mahatmas, the world level, would turn out to be a great blessing later on. In fact, at one point, he worked as a spinning master. He tried his hand at many things, but incurred loss and debts. So, for the sake of his peace, he started to chant Ram, 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 simply Ramanam. And he found great joy and peace in that. His father, Sri Balakrishna Rao, was also very devoted to Rama. One day, after coming out of a temple, he saw a sannyasi sitting under a tree. He was so radiant, Sri Balakrishna Rao could not help himself going to him and prostrating. And this sannyasi initiated Sri Balakrishna Rao into Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai. After that, Sri Balakrishna Rao began to chant this mantra all the time. And he was progressing so well. And soon he came to understand the plight of Shri Rao, trying his hand at everything and failing. And he also knew Shri Rao had taken to Ramna. So it was he, Shri Rao's father, Shri Balakrishna Rao, who initiated Shri Rao into this mantra, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Papa Ramdas would write years later that he started his Ram Nam, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, the Guru Mantra. It caught him like fire. He gave up everything. He started to wander all over India, chanting, chanting, chanting. And he submitted himself to the will of God from moment to moment to moment. He called himself Ramdas and everyone else Ramdam. Everybody whom he came across, he would address as Ram and himself as Ramdas. He says he practiced only three things: the incessant, ceaseless chanting of Rama Mantra, and he considered God seated right inside him. He did not look for God outside. He intuitively knew that God was the indweller. And the third was submission to his will, Ram's will, from moment to moment to moment. In 3 years, he attained such a high state. In one of the books he has written that when he sat one day, the meditation happened without any struggle. This is the glory of Nama. Every Nama purifies us. Every Nama. As you keep on chanting and chanting and chanting, there is gradual purification. And when the purification reaches a certain point, meditation happens. You don't have to struggle. And after that, in 1922, when Papa Ramdas came to Tiruvannamalai and began to stay in the banyan tree cave up the mountain, Arunachala, he would come down to sit before Bhagwan, Shri Raman Maharishi. And by the grace of Shri Raman Maharishi Bhagwan, he had the universal vision. After that, he went back and started an ashram. Rather, the ashram grew up around him. Ananda Ashram. Mataji Krishnabai was his chief disciple. And Bhagwan always talked about Ananda Ashram with such reverence and devotion. If anybody came from Ananda Ashram, Bhagwan would get up and prostrate and say, "Oh, you have brought my father's blessings. You have brought Swami Ramdas' blessings for this beggar. My prostrations to you." Such was the devotion Bhagwan had towards his Guru. So today, the ashram, Ananda Ashram, celebrates Swami Ramdas' Jayanti Day on the Tithi, that is the 27th of April. But today is the English date. All the same, we should remember his main teachings. Chant the name, chant the name. Keep on chanting Ram Nam or any divine name for your own transformation, for your purification. So with this, we shall now start what Bhagwan said about certain things. In 1979, Agaram Jayaraman used to visit very often according to Bhagwan's wish. And Shri Sukhavanam was another person. Both had kept diaries. We are very, very grateful to them. But only 1979 diary of Sukhavanam has come to the ashram. We do not know where the other diaries are. If anybody should possess them, please send us one copy. Shri Sukhavanam says that Bhagwan was talking about one Sadhu from Madurai. In fact, we saw this incident a few days back. A Sadhu from Madurai had come, and when Bhagwan went to Arunachaleshwara Mandir, the Sadhu became very attached to Bhagwan. And then he invited Bhagwan for food, and for 3 days in a row, he was sharing his food with Bhagwan with such love and devotion. But what happened at the end was, the Sadhu, no matter how much Bhagwan refused, he still went ahead and snatched Bhagwan's coconut shell. He thought that would be the token of love, token of his blessings. Just see to what extent people go to express their love. In expressing their love, they do not bother what the loved one feels. That is the irony there. So Bhagwan was saying, varieties of people come to this beggar. Different types of people come to this beggar. And they all come and prostrate. They do Sashtang Namaskar on the floor. But then it does not mean that they have surrendered. With many people, it's only a formality. They don't even understand why they are doing this Namaskar. The Namaskar means I am submitting my ego at your feet. The command that you throw at me with your feet, I shall take upon my head and carry it out in obedience. So a true Namaskar is the submission of ego to the Guru. The least of the meanings is, I shall obey you. It's not only a mark of respect, the significance is that I shall obey. So Bhagwan was saying that many people do not mean their namaskars. They do it. And then he went on to say with a smile, you see how it is, as long as everything goes well with them, as long as they think that they are getting what they want by the blessings of this beggar, they'll be happy with this beggar they will prostrate again and again. They will praise this beggar. But once something goes wrong, immediately they would say, oh, this beggar has let me down. He is not blessing anymore. And then they begin to talk ill of this beggar. And Bhagwan started to talk about the self-pride. People don't understand that it's my Father who is behind everyone. It's my Father who has become all, who has manifested as all beings. And it is my Father who is running the whole cosmos, who is running every detail of the cosmos with such precision and order. As he was talking about it, I was reminded there were many, many stories which Bhagwan made us read. If he came across some very good stuff which would be useful to the people present, then he would make one of us read it out again and again and again, sometimes as many as 18 times, the same article. And every time, someone or the other would be reading for many days. One of the stories is a very interesting one which we come across in Kenopanishad. There it says, very much the same fashion as Bhagwan, there was a war between the devas, the demigods, and the demons, what we call asuras, rakshasas, the evil people. And in the war, of course, the devas won and the asuras were defeated. Soon after that, the devas began to think that they were invincible. And they themselves, by their own power, had vanquished the asuras. So you see, they all became egoistic, very proud of their valor and power. Now, the Supreme God, whom we call Parabrahman, and his first manifestation is Eshwara. Eshwara is the embodied form of the Parabrahman. You can also call this embodied form, the manifestation, as Eshwari. It's a form with a name, and it is he who runs the whole cosmos. So he thought Eshwara, Parabrahman, decided to teach them a lesson, to correct and put them in the right path. So one day he assumed the form of an yaksha. Yaksha is one of the celestial gods. They are called nature spirits. They live in the tanks, lakes, in the forests, in the cities. They look after, they're all benevolent. So they always help people. In fact, they are like guardians of a city. So Parabrahman, the Supreme God, took the form of an yaksha and appeared before them, the Devaloka. So when he called out for Indra Deva, Indra sent, oh, there's a new entry into our domain. Go and see who it is. He sent Agni Deva, the fire god, to find out who this Yaksha was. See, this Yaksha, the Supreme, had come in this form and he had put on Maya. He had put this Maya upon the Devatas that even Indra was not able to recognize this Yaksha. So when Agni Deva came to him, this Yaksha asked him, "Who are you?" When Agni Deva asked the Yaksha, "Who are you?" the Yaksha in turn asked him, "Who are you?" Then Agni Deva replied with such pride, "Oh, don't you know, I am the fire god. I burn everything to ashes. Nothing can stand before me. Everything. I gobble up and burn them to ashes. Such is my power." Yaksha said, "Oh." Then he pulled out a blade of grass and put it before this Agni Deva, the fire god. "Okay, you say that nothing could stand before you, that you burn down everything to ashes. Please try this. This is only a blade of grass. Burn it up." And no matter how much the fire god tried and tried, he could not burn even a little of this blade of grass. And then he realized that he was nothing before this Yaksha. Even before an Yaksha, his power, all his power, proved invalid, powerless. So with shame, he went away. Now when he reported to Indradeva, he sent the Vayu god, the wind, the god of the winds. So he came, looked at this Yaksha, and with full of self-pride, he asked Yaksha, "Who are you? You have come into our region. Who are you?" The Yaksha asked him, "Who are you?" Then the wind god said, "Look, I move things. I have the power to move everything. I can move even the mountain. I have such power that I can move everything in the cosmos." And then the Yaksha said, "Oh, you are so great. All right, here is a blade of grass. Kindly move this." And again, the same thing happened. No matter how much he tried, with all his power, he was unable to move this blade of grass from its place. Even the hair's breadth, he could not move. Then he understood that there was someone very powerful standing before him, and before him, his power is nothing. He left the place with shame, just as the fire god did. Now, listening to his report also, Indradev thought, "Okay, these people cannot handle him. I shall do it myself." With even more pride than the other two, Indradev began to walk towards his Yaksha. But then the Yaksha disappeared. And Indradev was very disappointed. He looked for him here and there. He could not find him. He felt very bad. This Yaksha did not think that Indradev was worthy of his darshan. You see, it has become worse. At least he gave darshan to the wind god and fire god, but when Indradev presented himself, the Yaksha disappeared. He did not even want to give his darshan. So becoming desperate, Indradev began to look for this Yaksha here and there, and in his search he came across a very beautiful woman who was none other than Parvati Devi herself. So he asked her, "Mother, who is this Yaksha who seems to be very powerful? I can't even get to see him." Then Parvati Devi, he rebuked them, saying, "You are all fools. What do you think you people are? Did you people win the war? It is the power of Parabrahman. It is Eshwara's power that made you win. The very power that you possess has been given to you by him. If he only withdraws it from you, you will be nothing. With this little power that you possess, you are so proud, arrogant, and you behave as though you people have won the war. You could not have done it without his grace. Don't you know that? It's out of ignorance. You are so egocentric. Drop this ego. Realize the power of God, and you will be able to see him everywhere." And then the devatas realized the mistake they had committed, and they became humble. So this is how Eshwara humbles people also. When we think that we are possessing everything, we have power, the money power and people power, the power of the position, and go about the dealings of the world with pride, arrogance. God creates a situation where you will be deprived of all that you were proud of. You will be reduced to utter helplessness, when helplessly you would turn to God and start praying. That would be a humbling experience for everyone. This is happening in our lives. We all know that. From time to time, we have to go through some situation or the other, which is at once the effect of our past karma and also a blessing from the hand of the divine. It is only to give you a push towards God. It's only to humble your pride, so that you would know you are nothing before the power of God, and that you are only a machine operated by the divine. People may remember the story that I used to say at Sudama. The first time I kept awake throughout the night chanting the name, and early morning 4 o'clock when Bhagwan came and sat there, I went to him with such pride. I said, with such pride and excitement, I said, "Bhagwan, I kept awake the whole night. I managed to do it, and I've completed some 20,000 namas." Expecting a smile, a bright, bewitching smile from Bhagwan, a smile of appreciation. But instead, he only frowned, and he became indifferent. Not knowing the significance of that, I was confused and disappointed. And then he said, when I prayed, what was the mistake that I did? He said, Devaki, you said you were chanting the name the whole night. Do you think it's possible for you to do? It's my Father who made you do it. Never say that you have done anything at all. None of us can do anything except by Father's grace. It is He who is activating all of us into doing. Never own up any action as yours. It is He who activates you into doing it. He is the real doer. You are only an instrument in His hands. Always remember this. So you see this Upanishad story from Kenopanishad tells us that whenever we assume pride, it can only be an assumption because we don't really have any power. There would be a humbling experience all of us have to go through. So, even in our bhakti, in our devotion to the Guru, there is pride. Oh, I have got so much bhakti for him. I am so devoted to him. We hear people say that. Only God knows what our true devotion is. How much bhakti we really have. So, all the time, we have to pray for this bhakti and humility. Humility is a great, great, great virtue. Especially in spiritual life, it's very, very important. To the extent you are humble, to that extent the grace enters. Like water only goes down into a pit. The grace flows down into the humble. So let's remember the story. Let us remember Bhagwan's remarks, his instructions to us. And that Bhagwan is here right in front of us. Let us submit our today's prayer at his feet. Bhagwan, thou art the cosmic controller. Thou hast created this whole cosmos. You have manifested as everyone and everything in the whole cosmos. And it is by your will the world is today in this situation. It is definitely for some purification. A tiny virus is like an asura, rakshasa, and it holds the whole world in its dreadful grip. And people with all their science and technology, money and army are not able to do anything about it. Life seems to have come to a standstill. And for how long? We beg you intensely, again and again, for the bestowal of a huge grace that would free the entire humanity from this tiny virus, and bring back normalcy. But again we pray it should be a normalcy based upon dharma. In every aspect of life, everywhere in the world. And Bhagwan kindly approved the fear, the panic in the hearts of people because of this pandemic. It's not only fear, there's a lot of grief, anger, and a helplessness, a sense of helplessness. Only you could uproot it, you could root out all these negativities, stop the spread of the disease, enter the medicine so that the medicine would work, kill the virus family. And all those great soldiers, brave soldiers, who at the very risk of their lives are fighting the disease for the sake of the others, please bless them with your protection and all-round wellness. And Bhagwan, kindly cast your compassionate glance upon the world. There are many people who have lost their jobs, and many people suffer even without one single meal a day. There are people who live in abject poverty. We beg you for a boost to our economy and help to all these helpless people. Above all, we beg you, Bhagwan, to bless us with humility. We pray for constant remembrance of your name, and we go about our everyday life as a fitting instrument in your hands, and that with gratitude for all that we have already received from your hands. And Bhagwan, above all, be it a joy or sorrow, please bless us with that attitude, the right attitude, where we will be able to see only your blessing in everything, in every happening of our life. Jai Yogi Ramsuratkumar.